Hey everyone, this call this meeting
indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Council President Suzanne Souter. Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka. Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also in attendance, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wistman, City Clerk and Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, Building Official Jeffrey Bergstrom, City Solicitor Max Walton.
Okay, the first item has several. The first one is the minutes of the May 7th executive session, which merely reports the fact that we had that meeting. Are there any comments or corrections from council?
Motion we approve the minutes.
Pass second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are approved. The next one is the minutes of the budget workshop of Thursday, May 7th. Comments or corrections for that? Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And then the next set is the minutes of the May 14th regular meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to that one from anyone? I do have one, but let's see if anyone else. On the 9th page, second page, Council President Souter responded to questions, and there are some bullet points. In the second bullet point, it says about the street sweeping and the warnings and so forth. It says warnings will be issued to vehicles that have not moved. Only one side of the street will be swept at a time. Odd numbers, one heat, and even house numbers a different heat. It should be day. Like Wednesday, I think it is a Thursday, at least on my street, and then different on other streets. But it's different days within the thing. So that's the only correction I have. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the final set of minutes is the budget workshop from May 15th. Are there any comments or corrections to those? Motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are all approved. Thank you. Okay, the first item tonight is, after that, is the treasurer's report. And that will be followed immediately by the report from our auditor of the audit of the fiscal year 23, which ended last June 30th. So the presented report, and then we'll call it Mr.
Thank you very much. I'm going to remain seated. Everyone can hear me out. The unaudited numbers that I have at May 31st. Total cash and accounts, $11,196,941. And those funds are made up of the unrestricted funds, $8,973,051. And the restricted funds, $2,223,890. Now, with that said, the activity that we've had through May 31st, the revenues we have are revenues we've collected from normal business operations and taxes and such is $5,847,285. We had budgeted $5,704,507. So right now, through the end of May, we're $142,779 over budget on monies that we've collected. And each individual line item has pluses and minuses, so I'm not gonna go over the individual items. Meanwhile, since we're at the end of 11 months, the expenses that we have incurred are $5,481,084, and we've budgeted $5,704,507. So we've budgeted so that we have a balanced budget. Right now, we still have budgeted money that hasn't been spent of $223,422. So financially, we're in very good health, I think, with the reserves that we have, the monies and the income slightly above on budget, and the expenses seem to be normal expenses. So that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Frank DeFroda of the firm of Risman and Giordano, who conducted our audit of our fiscal year 2023 to give the report.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the audit report is broken out into different sections. First section being the opinion, which is the independent auditor's report. That tells everybody how the city audit went for the year. The second part of the report are the entity-wide financial statements. These financial statements are prepared on the full basis of accounting. The next section is the fund level financial statement, and this is the financial statements that are being used each month by the city. They report at the fund level, and as part of the audit process, we prepare full entries to get to the entity-wide level, and that's all government. Next section following fund level statements are the notes for the financial statements. The notes for the financial statements give the movement of the financial statements a little better understanding of what occurred during the year, what the various policies and what some generally accepted accounting principles the city follows. The next section is the general fund budget for the school, which Jim touched on briefly. The next section after that is the pension plan, the two different pension plans we had. We actually put together various statistics and they're part of the papers. And then after that, we have supplemental information, which takes each of the different funds that the city had, shows them separately, so that we can see the accounting, what was spent and received over the year of those funds. And then the next section is independent auditor's report relating to internal controls and compliance issues. Okay. And then finally, last section, the recommendations. So I'm going to start out with the audit report. Basically, the audit report states we've audited the financial statements of the government activity, each major fund of the city of Newcastle, as of for the years ended June 30th, 2023 and 2022, and related notes to the financial statement. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects financial position, the government activities, each major fund, and remaining information for the city of Newcastle as of June 30th, 2023, 2022. Expected changes in the financial position for the years that ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. What we have here is a clean report, an unmodified report. This is the type of report that all government agencies would like to receive. And we're getting an A+ on the report. The next paragraph just talks about the basis for our opinion. It explains to the reader that we conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, as well as the standards applicable to government audits. So we do the audit according to government reporting standards, but we receive a lot of federal grants, state grants that require us to look at, making sure that you're following the rules and regulations surrounding those grants. The next section of the audit report talks about what's management's responsibility. Basically, city's management is responsible for the presentation, preparation of the financial statement, okay, of course, the generally accepted accounting principles. As well, they're also responsible to make sure they maintain internal control structure and that they have proper internal controls in place. The next section talks about the auditor's responsibility, explains that our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented, okay? We can test 100% of transactions. We do sampling techniques, we look at some cash disbursements throughout the year, we look at receipts for the year, we look at payroll, making sure that they're proper controlled and that things check out in accordance with no accepted accounting. As part of the audit, we're required to do certain things. One of the things being exercise professional judgment and retain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We're required to identify your key controls. We're required to make sure the accounting principles are generally accepted in the United States and that you follow proper procedures. And then we're required to communicate with management throughout the audit process. Also included in the opinion, I mentioned earlier, there's a budget versus actual statement. So we review that, making sure that it's fairly stated in relationship to the revenue financial statement. And then there are some additional information relating to pension plan and fund level statements. So we make sure again, those are reasonably fairly stated. So again, this is a clean report. Just to kind of give you an overview, at the entity-wide level, which is full approval level, your total assets were about $47 million for the year. Your total liabilities were $4 million. So that left you net assets of $43 million. Okay. You look at your revenues for the year, again, at the accrual level, your total revenues for the year were $6.6 million. Your total expenses were $5.4 million. So you had an increase in your fund balance of about $1.2 million. The prior year, you had an increase of 1.7. So down about $474,000. Some of the major differences this year, the revenue was 1.2. The prior year was 4.5. Right, in that 4.5, there was $2.8 million in the coronavirus funds that were received, which is like a one-time inflow of cash. Okay, so when you back out the 2.8, it works down to 1.7. So try to get apples and apples, 1.7 in 22 compared to 1.2 in 23. When you look at your fund level statements, your revenues over expenses for the current year were about $200,000. In the prior year, if you take out the coronavirus funds of 2.8, you were at $772,000. So decrease of about $580,000 between those two. Okay. The next section are all the footnotes to the financial statements, and there really have been no significant changes to the footnotes. So I'm not going to go through each one, but next section after that, I just wanted to touch on, similar to what Jim just went over in the Treasury report, is the budget versus actual statement for 2023. So in 2023, the city budgeted $4 million in revenue. The actual revenues for the general fund for 2023 were $4.8 million. So you had $842,000 excess budgeted revenue. What basically accounted for that were transfer taxes were up about $250,000. But that's, transfer taxes are hard to anticipate from year to year because it depends on when people are selling their homes. So yes, the market is hot, people are selling their homes, that number could be pretty big. But hard to anticipate that. So you don't want to, bank on, bringing in $600,000 to $700,000 every year on that. You don't really know. You want to be conservative when you vote that. Other areas that increased were licenses and permits. Again, a lot of renovations and permits and things of that nature. So that was up about $282,000. And then interest and rents were up $143,000. So that basically accounted for the majority of your increase. As far as the expenditures go, we budgeted $5.2 million and the actuals were 5.4. So we overspent by about $200,000. And basically the major differences were in the area of public safety, we overspent about 100, and in capital outlay, we overspent about 132,000. And again, capital outlay is kind of hard, trying to get additional grants, then you're spending more capital outlay. So that's it for that, and then the supplemental information is next. And then in the back, we have a couple of recommendations that do management, and they're in the process of progressing with the recommendations. Right.
The recommendations that you made, were those, did they indicate there were significant deficits, or were these sort of technical things?
So the biggest thing is the system that is being used, after a certain number of days, you can't go back, journal entries back to the system, or that system amendment. So we had to make several adjusting journal entries to get our books of record to yours. So we're in the process of talking to management to figure a way that we can get those entries into the system now that, yeah, it's past, I think they give you like 90 days before you close. After that 90-day time frame, you can't go back and put the entries in.
So this does not indicate the problem, it's a technical issue with the way the system.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Would that, tagging along to that question, would that potentially mean city exploring a different system to use that would allow for more flexibility in journal entry? And is that normal to have it open to make those notes?
Yeah, potentially, you could look at it. There's other software out there that you can consider. Going to, that would let you use both of them.
I want to ask you about the variance, in some of the revenue funds that you guys indicated, permits, the property transfer tax that, it's hard to predict. And I think you mentioned special revenue fund, like that they should be classified under special revenue fund versus the general revenue fund. And my understanding is also like those highly flexible revenue funds should be left out of base budget revenue, right? Is that correct? So that, well, if there's a fluctuation with like pandemic that happened and there's
The budget is based on the general fund. The property tax is for general. Okay, so you try to budget property tax based on history. And you can look at a 10-year history to try to figure out what your property taxes might be for that year. The special revenue fund, all the additional funds that money's earmarked for certain things. For instance, this year, DENRAC gave us a lot of money for grants, but we use that for capital outlay. Okay, we would make that part of your general fund budget because you didn't know about it at the time. Okay, so the budget is just based on the general fund. That's what your budget is based.
I was asking about the property transfer tax. So like as people purchase properties, not the tax, but that fluctuates anywhere. It goes 400,000, 900, 600. So we budget on the lower side. So
Right.
we're being conservative. But my question is, should that be counted as a separate revenue stream because it's unpredictable in that sense?
Now, it's part of the general fund budget. You gotta include it as in that.
Because we was good at our job of predicting on the conservative side, I guess, with this all the time.
You always try to be conservative, revenue budget lower, if you have a balanced budget, that's it. You don't need it. And you spend that money, you're gonna run in a deficit position. So be careful when you're thinking overestimating.
Yeah, makes sense. And then on the page 35, my last question is about the pension. Second line says city's proportionate share of net pension liability. So some years are positive, some years are showing as negative, and the fluctuation is rather great, I guess. Do you mind talking about that?
Well, like based on the actual. They do it, how long people live, the market conditions, so 1 year it can be positive, next year it can be negative, fluctuate.
But this is going out of our pension fund, this is the part of the general fund.
That's right.
So like
Or the state one, so you piece of that state one.
So what is in parentheses negative? Does that mean the city paid that part on that line and the positive ones that we received? Like, I'm confused.
That's the asset, that's your share. So overall, what happens, you're part of the state's plan. Based on all the governments that are in the state plan, you get a percentage of that plan. This is an asset, $112,000 was an asset relating to that pension plan. That was your portion of the asset that goes on your books. Okay, so it could be positive one year, or it could be a liability next year, again, depending on various factors that take place. Okay. What I would recommend is, I'm sure you meet with your aggregate, have them come in, give you, a little overview of how different things affect the liability and the asset to give you a better understanding.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, that's all I have. Council President.
Anyone else?
Thank you for your time, sir. You work with other, government agencies or cities, municipalities?
Well, we're, do audits of other? Yes.
Okay. So the city historically, over this couple of years at least, had a, practice of carrying forward excess funds from one, fiscal year to the next, almost using that to help fund the next budget, right? Is that something that you see in other entities, and or if you have any thoughts about that, one or the other?
So again, it depends on, how you budget. Most governments do, they try, like Jim said, they try to have a balanced budget, okay? Some years, it's hard to balance the budget, so your expenses, you might want to maybe do a lot more construction projects or something. So your expenses might be greater than what you anticipate bringing in as revenue. The only way you can balance the budget is by using some of the surplus from the prior year for this year. And that's what makes you kind of balance the budget. So for instance, say your revenues were 5 million, your expenses were 6 million, you're going to be short $1 million. But if you have a reserve, assuming that you have a reserve of $8 million, you can use $1 million of that to help balance the budget for next year. And the budget, carry forward funds for all year $1 million. So a lot of governments do use their reserves when they need them. Okay, you don't want to spend all your reserves, but then, like 1 year when you have expenses are greater than revenue, you can't pay your bills. So you got to be careful how you're budgeting. If you want to spend, you want to pay those reserves every day if you need them. Like you do in a whole budget, you always want to have a little reserve in the tank just in case.
Sorry to interrupt, but if I could clarify on this, it sounds like having this rollover is a function of our being conservative in estimating revenue. So conservative, for example, in projecting future property taxes, property transfer tax. And then if a lot of properties are sold or one big property is sold and that goes up, then we have revenue in excess of budgeted expenses, and that leads to a rollover, right? So it seems like the fact that we budget conservatively naturally leads to this
Yeah, it can be.
rollover. Okay, just want to make sure, but it's been.
Jim would go over the monthly financial statements, and that would be on a basis to see, what percent of the budget has been spent. As you speak along, 6 months in, you expect maybe 50% of the budget being spent. See 70%, and you got to ask question, why are we at 70%, so 50%, so you understand, what happened. Expense that popped up that you didn't anticipate. Maybe a revenue that, you didn't receive or something happened. So going over it along the statement, that should give account to understand what's going on.
I understand. Thank you for your independent third party, professional opinion.
So you didn't have any further questions?
Can I answer that question? Just, I think it's short. What Mr. Matter was saying. Municipalities, or state agencies on a best practice use, is it 6 months, is it 12 months of, those reserves you can have for them your budget or?
Yeah, that's always that's a question. Maybe 6 months, hard to say. Each place is a little different how much they try to, keep at their reserve.
Would that also depend on how many revenue sources a place has perhaps and the dynamics of that, or?
Yeah, that could be like state grants, there's a lot of federal grants out there that could have impact. There's a lot of different things that go into it.
Okay, questions from them?
I just have one question. We're coming in June now, and to see the review from last year, is there a reason of the delay?
Well, the biggest thing was, a couple of things. There were new funds this year that were added to So, posting to journaling, we need a lot of balancing, to get everything balanced, it took a little longer to get where we are today.
The next round, it'll go through.
That's what we're hoping. So just like past year, we started a little later than we started in like middle of November. We can push that up to October, finish by December and get through the report.
Any questions? Okay, well, perhaps while Mr. The President is still with us, we should jump ahead a bit on the agenda to the resolution to approve this, this issue. So that's item 1 under the business. Fine, I think it's right behind the report. Right in front, sorry. So, I'll read it, resolution 2024-21, a resolution to approve the fiscal year 24 financial audit. Whereas the firm of Wisman, Giordano and Associates completed it says FY 24 financial audit. I think that should be corrected to FY 23. Is that correct? So this is the fiscal year 23 financial audit. And their representative has reviewed the draft audit in City Council at a public meeting held on Tuesday, June 11, 2024. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that the City Council approved the fiscal year and again corrected to 2023 financial audit. Okay, it says hereby approves the fiscal year 2023 financial audit. It doesn't say that. Sorry. Okay, so is there a motion to approve this resolution? A second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion to approve. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, the next item, I'm sorry, back up to reports. So we now have the report from the city administrator.
Thank you. Because we've been having better meetings, morning about 2 weeks. We've heard residents on those meetings. Our new enforcement officer will be in just a couple of weeks.
Can you speak up, please?
Sure, sorry. We are continuing to meet with DelDOT to continue discussing on a possible traffic improvement. The idea is to continue with the ones. I have continued over this past month to meet with a lot of stakeholders in our community, members and members who of the community who are very involved. So I've appreciated everyone's time. The Flood project has been ongoing. Was previously on hold due to the Army Corps permit restricted any from the 15th to June 30th due to migrations in the area. So following June 30th, this work will continue and the project will begin with its ground package, the trial drive testing, and then continue to check. Just another reminder that the county and Tyler Technologies continue to do the reassessment program, and letters will be sent out. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. Thank you to all who attended Celebration Day. It was a full event. It was very nice to meet. I have met during this last month with members of the Flood Resiliency Committee to discuss the flood project through the National Resources Conservation Service and work the funding and get an understanding of the funding that will be given to us. And we contacted Senator Harper and Coon to get more details on that. I've also during the past month continued to look into items such as different vendors and possible emergency management and emergency alert system for the building. And that's my
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Council on about that report?
Is this something with public the budget? Can you give about the summary, like the note that we made earlier? Okay.
Okay, Chief McKay.
Thank you, and those full late, so these are any questions. A few call types in there that may be a little disturbing, and I want to give you the background on that. The carjack is actually another agency that we assisted our task force on, call that, to get that. That wasn't a local incident. The same with the burglary in progress, that was us assisting another agency. You'll see a kidnapping in there, that was a local incident that was downgraded to where the benefit of the adult were having a hard time getting victims to cooperate. So you see those three call text, that's the background there. As I reported last month, we had a shooting in the Williamson Square area. Over the weekend, I thought we were close. That I wish I could have said then, but I wanted to say that we did have a suspect then. Since then, we've made an arrest. So it was a well done by our detectives and also with the help of the FBI crime desk. This past month, we were short a few officers due to injury. We still have one in the academy. So I just want to print that out for public before time. I wanted to talk briefly about the street sweeping project that started. I know I left early last month. And I guess there was a discussion. So it's my understanding that council said about a 50-day break period. So we're 30 days into that. We technically haven't really completed the assessment of sign placement. We're doing that now. At this point, we feel pretty comfortable. So, but we do have a letter drafted. I'm going to post that on our Facebook page so that folks can see it. But in a nutshell, the letter basically says that this is a comprehensive street sweeping program. It started back in 2019. Well, so I think most folks saw that. But it basically describes the fact that the streets have been outlined or identified for anyone the cars that be moving, and that if you're in that spot during a time period, you're technically in violation of a state title 21 code. The letter will outline what that code is. I can tell you that the fine is around $53, and I think I said this before. I'm not 100% comfortable putting that in a warning letter, only because that fine may change. Who knows? But it's a typical parking assessment.
Not to interrupt, but would it be just higher, not lower?
If it would change,
Yes.
it would probably be higher.
Could we do some language of minimum of 53, so that just people can anticipate something? Would that be? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And we can also put that on our Facebook page. For sure. And the statute,
Question came up last month about handicap parking. Are they required to move going?
yes, they're not exempt. So that in a nutshell, these letters will be put on the cars that are parked where the signs prohibit, and we're also going to try to put a schedule with that letter. In the past, we had envelopes that were weatherproof. Fortunately, the only envelopes we have say citation, and I don't think that's a good idea. Put citation with a warning in it, so it'll just be the letter itself. And then eventually our generated warnings that we typically give through e-tickets that may be used as well. So we're not really in any rush to get people tickets, but we do want, we obviously really get compliant as soon as possible. So then based on council's discussion last month, we have another month of salary. I did want to talk briefly about another program that we're going to start up again. And those of you that remember this from about a year ago, we worked with county paramedics to create a program that's called Lend a Hand, Save a Life. I know council was today, the mayor participated in this. This is a program that basically started after we've identified the lack of intervention
for CPR. So I think that the number was somewhere around 75% of all the heart attacks go without any community intervention. And typically, the reasoning behind that is the fear of CPR. So this is not a class that gets you certified in CPR, but it's a class that gets you comfortable with just chest compression and identifies the significance of early intervention. You want to get that number way better than 35%. So on our, I have some brochures that I'm going to leave here. If you have somewhere you want to go that outline the date. There are two classes on June 27th, one from 2 to 4, and then another one from 6 to 8. I wouldn't expect to be in there for the full 2 hours. Again, this is just to get folks comfortable with the concept of CPR. And then again, we'll post this on our Facebook page if you have any questions. Please.
You can ask a question there. You know, one of the main reasons why people are uncomfortable, you know, with compression, you know, just CPR in general. Like, so what can we do as a council and city, you know, to inform and encourage?
Well, this is the start. Getting folks to come to this event and to recognize that it's not as complicated as you may think. Some of the feedback that we've gotten in the past is the fear if they do it and they get tricked. That's not accurate. And then a lot of it is just a lack of understanding, you know, what to do. And it is very indicative of what we deal with really in any person about a profession. Folks aren't comfortable with seeing people in distress. It's a special reason that want to intervene. So, but you know, and I think those get identified in this class. As a matter of fact, we talked about some of the things that prevent people from engaging.
Any questions, Kim? Thank you, Chief.
I just had a question about overdose Narcan case. Can you briefly talk about that? There's just one case there, so
There's one overdose. It was an accidental overdose, no Narcan.
accidental like pills.
Like no accidental deaths. Dry medication that was inadvertently.
A council communication.
Good evening, everybody. Start with the street schedule since we're just talking about it. I just briefly mentioned to city administrator, an idea to explore fridge magnets. I don't know if you had a chance to, look at it, that would have a schedule of the street, sleeping. Okay, if you don't mind just looking for that, so that we can, do more to outreach, with the schedule color coded or something by, for each street. As the city administrator said, we have met with, Delta, representative, director of planning and director, a person overseeing the transportation for improvement district, plans. And, on top of KID, we have talked about some path forward. And, in the room, we had a city, planning commission, chair as well. And, one of the things that's coming up for the city is comprehensive plan update, next year. So we are kind of calling fire as well. Top of this citywide initiative is trying to understand how we can improve traffic, how we can improve, walkability for folks is how we can also inform the changes potentially that we may have to make to the plan in upcoming year. And what is that? So I think the next step is going to be identifying, available zoning right now spaces in the city for Chris Rogers, to kind of give us the developer, look at, if you guys remember when developers were coming to the meetings, talking about potential traffic, high counts of traffic. So that's going to be the kind of study we're going to do, exercise for the whole city of available lots, so that we can kind of see what is it that max count current zoning is kind of approved currently, and whether we need to repeat that. And then I think one thing that we talked about is just in the infant stage is exploring more walkability grants with the state. And one of the suggestions was to look at even a crossing with a ferry cutoff to make a diagonal crossing, just to not have, make a little puzzle out of it. And the last thing I'll say there that was really good news to find out from the director of planning is that the Route 9, South Route 9 is made it to the comprehensive, was it transportation capital improvement fund. So basically the 5-year plan that they announced. So that is one of the projects that's listed there for FY 25 through FY 27 for 3 years. It's going to be used right now to conduct engineering study to figure out what to do with it. But it's a good, I know it's not immediate fix, but they need to figure out what to do next. So it's better than not being on their list at all. So hopefully after that study, we have a front seat to have that, addressed permanently. I don't have much comments on, one of the resident thought meeting brought up the EPA comments about some of the, lots on 7th Street. My only comment is that I have reached out to city administrator who's preparing, a letter response with the engineer from the city. So, that's something that we're gonna be looking to share to see what is the response there, but that's just something I wanted to mention because it's very important for us to make sure that we have, made sure that all the treatment that needed to be done for these sites has taken place before we decide to do anything with those places. I really want to thank everybody who came for Separation Day.